Welcome to the Build with Boundaries podcast. My name is Manaz, and this podcast is for mums who want to carve out time so that you can work in ways that work for you, your life, your family, and of course your business. Together, we will discover why you are not prioritizing your business and the actions that you can take so you can live an intentional, productive, and fulfilled life without mum guilt. So let's dive in to today's episode. I'm so excited to have another special guest on, Maria Banks. She's a leadership coach, mentor, and trainer. Maria holds a strong personal commitment to work with women to enable them to reach their fullest potential. She understands the importance of identifying a vision and linking goals to personal and business values. Her business, Strada Innovation, specializes in driving transformation through its services. So let's welcome Maria. So welcome to this episode. I'm super excited to have Maria Banks on with me. So welcome, Maria. I'd love you to introduce who you are and how you help people.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here with you. So thank you for your invitation. So my name is Maria Banks. My business is Strada Innovation Limited, and I help business owners, and I also work with senior women in corporate and their teams.
Amazing. So you very much work with female entrepreneurs and leaders in both areas.
Very much so. And it's really interesting because it's a really good balance. Because what I'm finding and what I've found over the years is that the issues are the same, whether you are a senior woman with lots of experience and a team of people, or whether you are a woman starting out in business with no experience and really just doing what drives you, what your passion is.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, the issues are just the same. It's incredible.
Same people, isn't it? So tell me how you discovered your purpose and identity and what you're doing just now.
So I was in corporate myself, and in the early days, it wasn't easy for women. Certainly not for a woman like me who had ambition. So I worked within the energy sector, which was quite male dominated. And I really, really had to learn to make sure that my voice was heard. And there are different ways that you can do that. I did that. You know, in your 30s, you're just kind of getting to grips with what's going on and how to be. So there's always been a huge passion for me to support women. And I got really involved in the energy business, in supporting women. I was able to do that because my background was human resource development. So I was developing managers to manage people, male and female, obviously. And I realized that actually there weren't that many female managers. There, I was mainly training men.
Mm-hmm.
And their issues were, how do I manage a woman? Which was really interesting. So yeah, I think that passion has always been there to enable people to really step into their own potentials. And I got really frustrated with, you know, other women just being in admin when I knew that there was so much more that they could be and that they could do. So my purpose sort of came along quite easily, in that from my own experience, I knew that I could support women. I had a great mentor who was a woman as well, and she was quite a bit older than me. She was a very senior woman, and she and I had amazing conversations about her experience, which were a lot different to mine, and how far she'd come. So she was instrumental in my development in terms of supporting women and how I went about that. So my purpose is really interesting. In my training to become a coach, we did this wonderful exercise where we talked about, as newbie coaches, we talked about, so, you know, what's the thing that really inspires you? And for me, it was a dolphin. So, and we talked about, I was able to sort of express why a dolphin was so inspiring to me. And I'd always been inspired by dolphins, like many people are. But I just said, when you see a dolphin, they're always really happy, and, they're in a community and they love each other. And when humans see a dolphin, they always smile, they always love that. So for me, my purpose was really quite easy, because I am the curious dolphin who invites you to explore the deep ocean of you.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing, Maria. Thank you so much. That's a great explanation. I love that. So how do you find then all the things that you've been doing obviously got you to this point, and it's great to know that this can happen for some people where they just stumble across the area that they're meant to be working in, and they just naturally, it sounds like for you as well, this is just a natural progression that, well, I need to be helping women then, and I need to be doing this, and I'm feeling empowered that you are able to fit the skills that you have, you can put them to good use to fill that. So how do you feel then the skills that you had learned so far would be really helpful and beneficial for you to progress with the work that you wanted to do?
Well, I think the big thing for me when I started, what I was doing was very much a marriage with coaching. It seemed like a natural thing, managing people and then managing my own team even, and learning from that, being a mother and managing two very different sons with different personalities. They taught me a lot, actually, my two sons, because one was not very introverted, but he was more introverted, whereas the second one was very extroverted. So very different language with them. So I guess from the get-go, they were kind of my early teachers. And then, moving into business and being in an organization that really developed their people, and I wouldn't say cared about their people, they valued their people. And for me, it was very easy because I was always very vocal about what I wanted to do next. So, whenever I had my appraisal or talks with my managers, and just a point on appraisal, I don't think I ever had a manager who said to me, oh, it's time for your appraisal. I would say to my manager, it's time for my appraisal. And I'd already done it. So I didn't wait around for them to tell me when it was time. I learned very quickly that if I wanted to progress, I needed to take responsibility and accountability for my own progression. So yeah, I always made it very clear that where I wanted to be next. And if I wasn't really quite sure, I'd talk to my mentor, or I would talk through with my colleagues. And where there was an opportunity, then I was always on the lookout for different projects or different opportunities that might come along. So one of the things that I did was I read this article one day all about coaching, and I just kept reading it over and over again, and just said to my husband, I said, this is it. This is what I want to do. And nobody had even heard of coaching then. So, I spoke to my boss and I said, well, we kind of know about NLP. How about, we get you some NLP training. So neuro-linguistic programming. So that's where it kind of all started, really. So what's interesting about that is that the NLP and any training that you do as a coach, you're coached first of all. So you get to understand how it feels to be coached, and you get coached on real events. So you can't make something up. You have to say, well, this is something that is stopping me in my life, or this is something that I've had an issue with, or whatever it might be. And then you're coached on that, and then you get the chance to coach somebody else. So your training is very intensive, so that you really get to understand how it feels to be coached, and you get feedback on your own coaching. And I just absolutely love that, because it was given with such integrity and honesty and trust and truthfulness that I just realized that that's how I wanted to be in life, not just as a coach.
Fantastic. So we're talking today about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. What a great title. Tell me then, what advice would you give to the listeners about this? Because, you know, that kind of comfort zone and expanding, pushing outside your comfort zone, there's a lot of fear there, and a lot of people will just stay small because it feels safe. So what advice would you give from all the things that you've seen in your clients?
Well, one of the things that I know that women have instinctively is instinct, like that gut feel. And for some reason, we're not trusting that so much. And I would say, trust your instinct. It's always right, even though we might feel sometimes that it's not. There are the inner voices that always speak to us, whether you want to call it a saboteur or a gremlin or inner voice. There is that voice that, and it's our voice. Sometimes it's a voice that we've had in the past by
Yeah.
a teacher, a peer, a friend. And the voice is there because it's trying to keep us safe. And very often it does keep us safe. But what it can also do is hold us prisoner, keep us prisoner with our fear. So it's about saying, no, I've got a good feeling about this. And what's the worst that could happen? And really weigh up, the balance around, well, what's the worst that could happen? And think about that and do it anyway. So for me, it's getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable, you sort of get that little flutter, don't you, in your tummy or, wherever it might be in your body. And that to me is quite exciting. I welcome that feeling because I sort of think it's a bit of adrenaline as well. So I don't attach fear to it. I attach excitement to it.
Yeah.
And be optimistic. So there is a great TED talk on, get comfortable with being uncomfortable as well. So if people would like to see that, it's quite easily found on TED Talks. And it's really encouraging how women in particular stay in that comfort zone. And the other thing I would like to say is don't get attached to things. So what I mean by that is, I'll just give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
So we all love our homes, we make our homes. I'm no different. Made a home for my family. I come from an Italian family, so it's all about family and home and all of that. And I love my home and I love excitement and adventure. So, my husband came home a while ago and said, oh, I've been offered an opportunity to go and work in Italy. What do you think? Well, I mean, he knew my answer before he even asked. And then it was like, so how do we do this? And I said, well, we just rent the house out. So he's like, well, how do you feel about that? And I said, I'm not attached. And he was quite surprised. And he said,
Yeah.
you're seriously not attached? And I said, no. And then when we spoke to our boys about it, they said, Mum, home is where you are, so that's fine.
Oh.
So it's about, not getting attached. And the same thing's happened now in Cornwall. He was offered a position in Cornwall 18 months ago, and we did exactly the same. And what's wonderful is that when we were in Italy and in Cornwall, our friends and family share that with us because they come to see us. So they get to have a great adventure too by coming to see us. But honestly, I can't tell you how many people were telling me, what? It's the pandemic. Why are you moving? You can't move. That's silly. And what are you going to do with your house? And what, you're off again? And, all these people that stay in their comfort zone. And sometimes it's impossible to move. I had 10 years of taking care of my family, with my parents not being well and, subsequently leaving, moving on and dying. So there are times when it's impossible for you to move on. And there are times when it's possible.
Yeah.
So getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is an opportunity.
I love that. Turning that into an opportunity. And like you said, there's so much there. I loved what you said, Maria. really resonated, because I think when we feel nervous, some people are just genuinely, naturally, we're drawn to feeling like if we're nervous, that's like us being anxious or is negative. And we can have excited nerves. It's okay to be excited and be nervous, because it obviously means something to you. And that's the way that I usually switch that, because I think, well, if it's excitement for something and you're feeling nervous about it, it proves to you that it's something worth doing, or it's something that is going to help you. Or, like you said, listen to your intuition. We're not attached to our inner self as much as we were maybe previously. Maybe it's the noisy world and everything going on that's made it a lot harder. So I think that's really helpful, because we need to see things in a different perspective. And I love what you said. So yeah, thanks for sharing. So obviously this channel is built with boundaries podcast. I would love to know, what does building your business with boundaries mean to you?
I think you have to be, really clear. And this is where, before I started my business, I had a coach, because there were so many things to think about, going from, again, those voices were like, what are you doing? Why are you leaving corporate, and your salary, and, everything that goes with it, the travel and the business class and all of those things. And of course there was fear around that. And there was, and the network that obviously I had. So for me, it's very clear about, when you know that this is the right thing and you have a passion to move forward, you need help. So for me, first thing you need to do is find a good bookkeeper, a finance person that can do all that for you, because you're not qualified, and an IT, because if your technical equipment goes down, then you're really, well, you can't function. So for me, it's getting those two things in place. But most importantly, it is about understanding what it is that's really important to you. So what are your values? So, there's like the logistics part, and then there's the, what I call the heart part. So the heart part is where the passion is. And for you to be able to make decisions that are right for you, then understanding your values and discovering your values is really, really key. And as a coach, that's the first thing that I do with all of my clients. Let's look at your values. So generally people will say, oh, I really value my family, and I really value traveling, and I really value, those things, which are all very important, but they sit under a whole host of other values. So we go through an exercise that I take them through, and they then come up with 5 top values. And of those 5 top values, they choose 3 that they are consistently going to work with. So my top 3 values, I don't mind sharing them, are freedom, integrity, and harmony. Now, each of those 3 took some time to get to, because there's so much that sits under each and every one of them. What freedom means to me will be completely different to what it means to somebody else, because of the exploration that I did around why is that important to me. And similarly with harmony and integrity. So harmony is, I need to be around harmony, and also I am the harmony maker in my friends, in my family. And I know that because they tell me that. They may not use the word harmony, but it's all connected with that. And integrity is really important to me, because I need to work with integrity, and I can't be with anyone who is not in integrity. It feels uncomfortable. It feels wrong. So when you have those 3 values in place, every decision that you make from that moment will be related to those values. So even when we moved to Cornwall, first thing I did was, okay, freedom, harmony, integrity, and thought about each and every one of those before I made a decision, and ticked every single one. So for me, for business and in life, because those are my values in business as well as life, I think it's important. I also have another one, which is injustice, and that one came up from the Me Too situation with Harvey Weinstein, because in my 30s, when there was no law. I mean, there is employment law now that says that certain things are no longer acceptable. They were acceptable in my 30s. So that was one of the things that stopped women moving forward, because there was nothing to protect them. There is now. And there's so much more, that we can do. And there is so much injustice in the world per se, but we're seeing more and more injustices against women. So that's kind of my fourth passion and value, because I really value that in other women and in myself.
Like you said, we are our business. We have to embody everything, and those values have to mean something deep inside of us. Therefore, they're embedded both in our business and ourselves. So love that. Thanks for sharing your values. That's really good to see how you've embraced them and literally applied them to all areas, because that's what values are supposed to be about, isn't it? It's not just coming up with something, putting it on a sheet of paper and then parking it. It's like, it's got to be felt, and obviously the ones you've shared deeply resonate with you. So what tips would you share on 3 things that have helped you to build your business with boundaries? Because we want to share on this podcast, there's something for everyone. It will look like something different for everybody. So what's yours?
Yeah, I've got 3 tips actually that I wrote down because I didn't want to lose them. And they really are addressing, what I'm finding is with women, there's an awful lot of limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome and all of those things. Brené Brown, who is also on TED Talk, for those that don't know her, she's amazing. She talks about this a lot for women. So for me, the 3 top tips are: know your vision, be clear on your vision, dream big. So it's all about dreaming big, but start small. So don't hold back on your dream. Don't hold back on your vision, because whatever you dream, it may not manifest itself in exactly the same way as you imagine, but it will come. And I can speak from experience in that sense. So don't be afraid to dream big and start small. So work your way back. That's it. It's kind of like when you think, oh, where should we go on holiday? Oh, right, we're going to go to, I don't know, Greece. So that's it. That's your vision. And then you work yourself backwards. You go, oh, well, where are we going to go? And when do I need to book my time off work? And what do I do about the dog? And you sort of start to work backwards. And your vision is no different. It's like, what's the big vision? And then work back from there. And start with the first step. What's the first step? So again, a coach helps you with that, because that's an exercise that you kind of think, well, we'll get around to doing that one day, but you never do, because other things get in the way. And again, trust your intuition when you're thinking of that big vision. Number 2 is really understand what's really important to you. So it goes back to the values. Really look at what is really important to you. Things change as we get older. There are things that we've been brought up with that maybe we just don't agree with, or no longer value that because we were told we needed to value it. So take some time to really think about what is really important to me and what those values are. Once you discover them, then I hold mine sacred. And thirdly, find your business tribe. So when I say tribe, your community. So in my training, we were called a tribe, as in a group, and we were given a name. The name of my tribe was Swans. So it's so nice whenever I talk to one of my tribe or get in touch with my tribe, we always call each other fellow swans. So I'm not suggesting that you go and, go and find your tribe in that way, but find, either through something like FSB, Federation of Small Businesses, or, local networking groups. It's really interesting how that can really support you in your business. Whereas your family and your friends, they are the ones that will say, no, you don't want to be doing that. What do you want to do that for? Or how are you going to do that? Not saying that the questions aren't valid, but there's no energy behind them. They almost like want to keep you safe. So again, friends and family, they love you and they want to keep you safe. People in business will inspire you. So find your tribe.
That's such a clear-cut difference, and you're so right, because family, they won't understand fully either. They don't even resonate with your passion as deeply because they're not there. And then what you've just said, that's a really good way, because your family is there to protect you and they want what's best for you. So they just want you to just carry on as you are. They don't want you to change things. They don't want you to certainly do things that are going to put you into the unknown. It's again that fear coming up in them that they're putting onto you. So definitely, and I love the word tribe, because it's just, that's what we need. We are solopreneurs. Majority of us are solopreneurs building our business at whatever stage we're at. We're a one-woman band, so therefore we need to have kind of a backbone and just help, support, talk to people, know that we're not alone. And we certainly are not. There are so many inspiring businesses, women in business, whether what they're doing is similar to you or different. Like, it's finding that connection. And it's funny, we met on an FSB meeting as well, and we deeply resonated and talked for so long after. So yeah, it is, go find your tribe. Like, basically, that is just so powerful. Definitely. Thank you so much.
I was just thinking that you and I met
Yeah.
on FSB, and you're not going to connect with every single person, and this was just online, so we've never actually met in person. So again, there are, the market is opening up and there are face-to-face meetings happening as well now. So but yeah, that's how we met, and that's how this happened. So
Yes,
I'm very
exactly.
grateful.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for coming on, Maria. It's been a great session. Before we go, let's just let the listeners know how they can find you, and if there's anything you want to share with them, and I will pop the links below the video and on the podcast in the description as well.
Thank you. So I have a website, and that's Strada Innovation. So if you just Google Strada Innovation, you'll find me. And all the information that you need about me is on there in terms of me as a coach. It's not an interactive site at all. I decided I just wanted to have a window. So if people want to know more about me, they can go on my website. My telephone number, email is all on there if they want to get in touch. And I always offer a 1 hour complimentary free consultation. It's just a chat. If somebody is thinking about coaching or is being coached and would like to pick it up again, just drop me an email and we can arrange a 1 hour session. When I say 1 hour, sometimes it doesn't even take that long. I always offer more because sometimes, it can be difficult for people to understand where coaching comes from. But what I generally do after our call, depending on what comes up, then I can follow up with some information and some further detail for people. And this isn't about signing up. This is just about, is this really for you? And do we fit? Most importantly, do we fit? And I'm also on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is really my professional profile. So everything about me is on there, where I've come from, what I've done, who I've worked with, testimonials are on there. So people can find me that way.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Maria. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing all your wisdom.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's been a real pleasure. And take care, everyone, and dream big.